This is the Top-O-Matic Mikromatic. Uh, Cigarette hand cranker. This one's had thousands of cigarettes made. So what happens when they wear is the tobacco gets bunched up in this area right here. And then you come down to about this point and the handle locks up, and then you got to force it, and it gets to this point, and you just can't push it over any further. All right. And then you gotta kind of pull it over, and just quits working. Right. So then you end up going out and buying another one, and so it's like, all right, what's the problem? They wear out. Right. uh, so when you look at it, what are your problems? Comes down, it gets hard, it stops at about right there. You open it back up, your tobacco's all pushed into this area right here. It doesn't make it out into the tube. You got to dig out the tobacco. You got to push it back through the hole here, dig that part out, and then try it again, only to still have the same problem. Cigarette after cigarette after cigarette. So I've seen plenty of videos, guys turn it over, they try lubricating, all of this stuff, they take it apart. None of that. Don't do any of that. Here is your fix. Right here. That right there. You see that? You're adding in 1, 2, or 3 shims, right? Depending on how worn out all these pivot points are, right? So when you look at this, when you look at these pivot points, right, especially these two pivot points, this one here and this one here, all right, when they get down there, look at that. This piece here, I'll hold it. Look at that movement that's happening with that. You see that? You can't make up for that slack. There's nothing you can do. You can't put grease in there. The last thing you want to do is put any kind of petroleum grease down in here that's going to migrate into your tobacco chamber here. What kind of insanity is that? Who would do that? They don't do that when you buy this new, for a reason. Think about that. So you can see right here, that space, that's just worn. There's nothing you can do about that. Look at that movement. You see that? So what you're doing is when this comes over, right? When this point here comes over, you're building out this area right here to stop that from coming in further, to make up for this worn area. Look at that space right there. That space right there on that pivot point, right? So that's that clamping pressure right here that's jamming that tobacco so tight that this arm right here gets bound up against this wall on the inside and forces that arm to go this way. When this clamps into that tobacco, as soon as that comes down, that arm wants to go that way, and it creates all kinds of a binding here. So all we're doing, right, is we're relieving that pressure because of this worn pivot area by keeping this from going in any further. If we were to take this out, this whole area right here would come back a little bit and allow this arm in here to come this way and create the bind, right? So we're just taking all that slack out by stopping this, right? Which would naturally hit this wall right here and stop it when it was new, right? So this takes out the slack. So all this other stuff that you're watching about taking this all apart and doing all of this and this adjustment, there is no adjustment. There's no adjustment. What we're doing is moving this wall out to stop this point, this pressure point right here, right? So that fixes this, right? Thousands of cigarettes this thing's made. You know, why throw it away? Why throw it away? Because I had the same problem. So I've got 3 shims in this one. Shims, what size, how thick? You just tape them in. You just tape it to the edge. So you see, it's just regular old Scotch tape holding them in, right? Regular old Scotch tape. So those shims are the size of the thickness of flashing material. The kind of flashing you would use for, shingles. Not real thick. So, and what you would feel, right? These teeth, right? When you slide this down, you could barely feel those, right? So when you put your when this thing starts acting up and you use one shim to correct that pressure, right? You'll barely feel these teeth on that pressure, on that clamping force on the inside. So these teeth, this is staying firm against that piece of metal on the inside as it's being clamped down. You'll barely feel those teeth coming out. And then as those pivots on the inside wear more, you'll add another shim later on down the road, however many hundreds or 1,000 or thousands, however many more cigarettes you make. Then you'll add a third one, right? Possibly a fourth one before it just gets to the point to where it's just too worn out to continue using it, right? So, so how's it work at this point? And I'm telling you, thousands. I don't keep an accurate count, but where others have, thrown these things away and just gone out and bought another one, I'm still using it. Works like brand new. These other guys, they show brand new ones after they grease them up and all this other craziness. It's a big hustle with these videos. So this one's literally had many thousands of cigarettes made. It works like new. No more binding. But I'll just put a third shim in it. Rest assured. It was a real pain in the ass until I put that third one in there. But that's the third time putting a shim in it. Put one shim, then 2 shims. Now I'm on my third shim. There's no special, anything other than putting tobacco in and cranking out a cigarette. So shim it. Stop doing all this other crazy stuff and just put a shim in it. All right.